Good morning, everybody. My name is Deborah Byrne from Deborah Byrne Psychology Services, known across social media as DBpsychology. This morning, I'm actually going to be talking about children with chronic illness, and it's actually about parenting them and self-care, and what self-care means when you're trying to parent a child with chronic illness. So, you can check out this week's blog. It is quite lengthy, and you can check it out at www.deborahbyrnepsychologyservices.com. So, parenting a child with chronic illness. The first thing I'm going to say to you is this is all about boundaries, and because I'm going to be talking about self-care, and I'm going to be expanding the term self-care in this case to go beyond the basics, go beyond your own basics, because in this case, when you have a child that's ill, and when you have a child even with disabilities, it means moving that on to incorporate your boundaries, and also to remember, no matter how tough it gets, and it does get tough, believe me, I've been there, you've got to keep reminding yourself you're doing your very best. At this moment in time, you are doing your very best, and it is a highly stressful situation. It is highly stressful. So in saying that, there's a few other things that you've got to take into account. It can be very isolating. It is definitely an emotional roller coaster. If you are dealing with, all that it encompasses when you're looking after a very ill child or even a disabled child, it's an emotional roller coaster. And again, I would say it's very isolating. And you are also, having to fight, unfortunately, for the rights and entitlements of your child and your child's needs. So you got to, all of that combined will make a very, very isolating and stressful environment. So, in saying that, we're going to move it beyond the basics of self-care. So, part of this, and I have about 4 other sections to this week's blog. You'll notice that there were a lot of images going out this week. In fact, there were images going out every day this week because I had to break the blog down into different sections. The first section was about explaining the illness to your child. Yes, this is part of your self-care and setting boundaries. To explain the illness to your child, you have to be honest. You have to use age-appropriate language for that child's age. And you have to remember that your primary goal is to reduce their fears and their stress load. No matter how young they are and you think you might be hiding it from your child, they're going to know something's up. They're going to know, even if you want to talk to the siblings about, the illness that is that their child, their other sibling is sick, you have to talk to them, and you have to allay their fears, because if you try to keep them in the dark, what's going to happen is their fears is going to multiply, and it's going to be possibly 10 times worse in their little minds than it is in reality. So again, I would stress honesty and allaying their fears, reducing their stress levels, and using age-appropriate language. Now, in each of these, I'm going to be going through these very rapidly in this Facebook Live, but the blog, as I said, is very lengthy. So each section, has more suggestions and has more. So do check it out. Do check it out at www.deborahbyrnepsychologyservices.com. The second point will be to help them tackle their emotions. Now, with children, there are a number of ways in which you can do this, and with any child really, how to help them tackle their own emotions. Which, given the nature of this and what I'm talking about, chronic illness or even disability, helping them to express their emotions is going to be tough. Helping them to express their fears and their anxieties. You're going to have to use active listening, and I've talked about active listening before. So it's on a blog called Improving Your Communication. So go check that out. Have a look, and I've linked it out how to do that, how to actually do active listening, and to comfort them. And not only that, but at the basis of all that, and the basis of helping them, they just need you. They need to know that you are going to be there for them no matter what. They need your love and they need your comfort, and they need to know you're going to be there for them. That's all they need. In terms of practical ways you can help them, I've given many examples, but one of them can be, it doesn't have to be verbal. It can be using, colour, painting, poetry, writing, anything like that, journaling, anything like that at all, that, you can get any means. It doesn't have to be verbal communication. It can be other forms of communication, play, puppets, sand therapy, anything like that, that you can help them. If you feel it's moving on and that they need a little bit more support, and they need a support at, expressing those emotions, and they're having difficulty, then of course you need a therapist. You need to get in there, and you need a child therapist in there. The third point would be behaviour issues. Now, this is going to be a big one, and I've had a child with a chronic illness. She's now an adult, and she does have a chronic illness as an adult. But the best advice I ever got when she was very small was to treat her like the other children, treat her like her other siblings. And it was the best advice, because it was a bit of a relief to hear it coming from a professional, that it's okay not quite wrap them up in cotton wool, because that's going to be your first initial response, is to wrap them up as much as possible in cotton wool, and then they get away with a lot more. And it isn't fair on the other siblings, that if they're getting away with bad behaviour, and it's not appropriate, it really isn't appropriate. So it is okay to treat them exactly the same as the other children that you have, or to treat, if this is your only child, to set boundaries, and have, discipline in the home, in terms of their behaviour. And then the next point is siblings, how to deal with siblings. Siblings, I'm telling you now from experience, you will feel awfully guilty, because the child with the illness is going to get, or the child with a disability is going to get your focus, is going to get the vast majority of your focus. That's life, that's reality. But you still have other children, and you have to spend time with them. And it isn't about the amount of time you spend with them. It's about the quality when you do spend time with them. You have to let go of the guilt. If you are communicating with these siblings, and you're saying to them, they understand what's happening, they're going to understand that it's okay that you can't spend as much time with them, that they will get some of that time from a grandparent or an aunt or uncle or the other parent, but that when you are with them, you are solely focused on them, and you do take time to be with them. That is very, very important. You must take time out from looking after the child that's ill to spending time with the other siblings. So if you can remember that you're onto a winner there if you could do that. Now, in terms of your own self-care, as I said, this is a highly stressful situation. It's up there. It's ranked up there. Top 10 stressors. So you have to take time for self-care. And in doing that, you can take time out if, the child is having some sort of treatment. You can find moments, and it will be moments and minutes that you take to look after yourself. So journaling, while the child's having some form of treatment, they're away with the doctor, the nurse is looking after them, whatever, that you do take time. Journaling is great at the end of the day. At the end of the day, even to do the journaling, to do meditation, all highly important. You've got to get all that emotion out. You've got to get all your frustrations and your anger out in order to be at your top game. And you need to be at your top game when you're fighting for your child's rights and needs and all that. Taking time out as a couple and as a family. You're going to feel guilty again. You're going to feel guilty about that, but you need to take time out for yourself. You need to take time out with a friend. You need to take time out as a couple, and you need to take time out as a family, apart from maybe the ill child can't come with you, which is unfortunate, but maybe they're not able to. But you do need that quality time. And again, it's not about the amount or the number of times you go out. It's about it's about taking the time out and then being solely focused on each other as a couple, or on, just relaxing while you're with the friend and having a laugh. And it's okay to have a laugh. Or being with the other children, as a couple, being with your other children, and being, that quality time. And again, it's not about the quantity, it's about the quality. The big one, and it's a big one for parents who have a disabled child and, a child with a chronic illness, is asking for help. We are not super parents. We can't do everything, and we do need help and support. So asking for it can be a big, it can be really hard to do. It really can, speaking honestly, it's a very hard thing to do, is ask for help when you're looking after a disabled child, and to look after a chronically ill child. It can be so hard to do that. And we need to be aware that we need to do that. We really do. And that can come in many shapes and forms. One, it can come as a support group, and talking to other parents. Now, if you're talking to other parents of, who have a chronically ill child, it doesn't have to be exactly the same as your child. Then you're going to get the information. You're going to get the tips, the hints, and you're going to get to know the rights and entitlements. Because guess what? The system doesn't tell you. It doesn't tell you. I have to be honest with you. It won't tell you. Going to something like MABS, if you're in financial difficulties, they will help talk to your creditors. Again, that will take the pressure off you, because then you can focus on your child. You can reduce your stress. You're not worried about your finances, and they will do that for you. They will take that pressure off you in terms of finances. Again, they will also know about your rights and entitlements. So something as simple as going down to the Citizens Information Bureau, just go down and talk to them and see, okay, what am I entitled to now? What am I entitled to if I'm going to be, I have to take time off work, I have to stay home and look at this child, I'm going to be going back and forward. What am I, what are the legal rights and entitlements in terms of that? All reduces your stress, but it's also self-care, because you're setting that boundary, as I said, and you're reaching out for help. The other support can come from asking friends and family, and to look after, do school runs, to take other children, to allow you to babysit the chronically ill child while you are taking time out with, as I said, with your other children and your partner, or to allow you to go get a cup of coffee with a friend, because you just need that hour to yourself, or half an hour to de-stress. Or even it can be difficult to take time out even to take care of your very basic self-care needs when you're on the go, and the child has become the sole focus of the whole family. The other last two points I'd like to make is, if you come across a problem, and you will, I can guarantee it, I've done that and been there and worn the t-shirt. You need to break them down into manageable size chunks, because you'll be presented with a huge problem, and then it becomes massive and overwhelming and extremely stressful. So, reducing that down to more manageable steps, and just realizing that I can only get through today. I'll worry about tomorrow. I know I have to do A, B, and C tomorrow, but I'm only going to focus on today. And that is one of the best ways to live or survive this period of time with a chronically ill child, is to do it that way. And the second thing I would highly advise is getting counselling. You have to let out. You have to let it all out. You have to let out all the pressures. You have to have a safe environment in which you can talk about what you're going through, and you can get angry, and you can scream, and you can rant and rave, and you can do that with a therapist. You can do all that, and they will help. It'll be alleviating the stress that you're under while you're going through it, and you really need to do that. So think about talking to a therapist. So I'm going to leave it there for this week, and I'll say good morning to you all, and I'll see you all again next Saturday, and there'll be a new blog on Monday. And I'll say hello to Deirdre, and Deirdre is always here every single week. Deirdre is here, she's so brilliant, as is Colette, and there's a couple of others that are always here every single week, and they're so super to support. And I'll see you all again next week. So have a great week. Thank you.